Going live. And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tank.
And we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. How's it going to get today, Tank?
Oh, pretty good. I spent the first 7 hours a day making deliveries with my daughter to feed the elderly that are in prison basically by this virus nonsense, the pandemic. So that was fun. Made a little video about it. Over at Galactic Unicorn Show. Put it up there for people so they can see some of the stuff going on.
Okay.
I don't have any word from Kim for everybody out there. As far as what's currently happening with the post office, I know she's working on it. That's all I know. And what else? Bill Gates and what's the other guy, Schwartz from Google, apparently have just put their eyes on New York, and Cuomo has decided to basically give over our education system to them to reimagine our education system. So I guess the last time they reimagined something, it had about 90% less people on the planet. So you can imagine how that's going to go. They're going to reimagine education with some elite group of.
So, when we talk about Bill Gates, Microsoft, taking over education, they can't even run a computer. They can't make an operating system that functions well. There's millions of errors happening, every hour on your computer, and it just handles it. It's filled with problems, right? And they just don't show you all the errors. They handle them in the background. Sometimes it just crashes anyway because it just can't even handle the amount of errors that happen. That's one thing. Filled with viruses. That's why Bill Gates is so keen on viruses, right? They've never, ever, ever invented, created anything. Nothing. Not one thing have they invented. They've always bought out someone else, or they went and they established something that was in competition to something that's already taking off. Say like Windows Explorer. Anyone use Windows Exploder anymore? No. Everyone switched to Chrome, but they took over Netscape. I was telling you about this a little earlier. Where was Microsoft when the browsers were first being used by everyone in the world? Looking at web pages, building web pages. Was that where Microsoft was going? No. They were going into launching satellites to put their box in everybody's home called Web TV. Where's Web TV? Right? One content producer, Microsoft. Look what's happened with MSNBC. That's Microsoft NBC. That's what it stands for. It's not.
Right, sure.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what MS stands for Microsoft. What's the worst possible? It's worse than CNN is MSNBC. This is what they want to. This is how they want to educate our children. Is what's coming through MSNBC. Garbage, complete lies, dogma. Brainwashing. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's first, it's so fascinating. So I spent the morning there with running around doing that, and then and really watching very, very, very sad, very lonely, isolated, elderly people, who were, some of them were too afraid to open their doors, right? Some of them were just delighted to, obviously have somebody to talk to for a minute. We had 28 deliveries we had to make, right? So you didn't have a whole lot of time. So, but you just end up getting engaged with these people because they're just, they're by themselves. And they want to be dressed up, and they want to talk, and they just want human interaction, right? It's a surefire way to make sure that you suppress. Oh, and then stop by my in-laws' house, and Tomo comes on TV, and he shows that 66% of the deaths that have happened from COVID-19 were people that stayed at home. So think about it. So this whole big push to make this, to lock everybody and imprison them in their homes, and 66% of the deaths came from people staying at home. Now, how did they get it? What happened? They were home.
All right. Well, this is the same two doctors that came out, that said that YouTube banned them, right? They were just doing an interview with a TV station, and YouTube banned them, right? Because they said that they ran the numbers. The Sweden's numbers are exactly the same numbers as another country that has they had 20% infection rate across the population. Didn't make a bit of difference sheltering in place. Right? And they said it's not a good thing. Yeah, it doesn't. It suppresses the immune system. Wearing a mask is not a good thing for you to stop from getting sick. It actually, it's for you to prevent others from getting sick from you. It's to catch your spray as you're speaking, right, and breathing, to prevent others from getting sick. It's not from you from getting sick, which is what they're projecting, right? So they're turning everyone into a biological hazard, a biohazard. Everyone is a biohazard. Everyone wear a mask. It's stupid, right? And this is their method of control. And this, again, Microsoft putting out this patent on about harvesting your energies, your brain waves for crypto mining. Listen, I'm a supporter of blockchain technology, of this accounting system. I'm not in favor of enslavement. Which is
pretty clear difference there.
Yeah, there's a big difference. You can take.
I'm pro accounting, not enslavement.
Yes.
Just in case there's confusion there.
Yeah. So, it comes down to when you're dealing with technologies, you have to be responsible, and you can't go along and support the people that are really the bad actors in the technology world. Microsoft, for example, bad actor. Right? Anything good comes around, they destroy it. They try and take it over. They destroy things. I'll give you an example. Everyone's heard of Java, right? It's a programming language for the internet, right? Came about, started by Oracle, right? A competitor, right? In essence, right? So Java comes out, and what does Microsoft do? They put out J++ to divert everyone away, right, from Java. And J++ never worked. No one ever adopted it, right? But they attack, right, because they incorporate it into the operating system, right? How many word processors are out there on the market, right? It's like you can't be on that platform and build a business because it can be stolen out from underneath you. Anyway, I could go on and on about Microsoft. Sorry, I don't want to get too far down the road on that because it's a long term, for 30 years I've been, against whatever Microsoft does. So, but to think that Microsoft would be the go-to people, no, they're the farthest thing. If they said Apple, I'd have a little bit more, so acceptance that there's some good products that come out of Apple, right? But
sure,
even the whole idea of turning it over to any corporation, right? You need to have the open market, right? You need to have this school and that school using different technologies. There's so many. I was involved with a couple of projects where it was all about how to create the best educational environment. Let that flow, right? If you want to make an effort into getting into homeschooling, great, wonderful, great technologies out there. Don't turn it over all to Microsoft because it'll only be on Microsoft products. And we can tell what their ideas about things are is MSNBC. This is how you get information. You can only be exactly what they want you to be, or you're going to be demolished, right? Sorry, they can't be involved at all.
Well, it's impossible. There's no place. I mean, at this point, it's like it's a terrifying reality we're living. We had a follow-up call today. If you remember, I mentioned this kind of startup anti-trafficking group called SWAT, and so we talked to the head of SWAT, a few weeks ago, and he proceeded to, basically it's an evangelical group, and he proceeded to tell me how basically they were using shame, right, to shame these men who ordered a 24-year-old prostitute, because in reality, that 24-year-old prostitute was, have been doing that since she was a young teenage girl. So, they should basically be ashamed and change their behavior. So this is something, evangelical ideology is, Christianity is very successful at is behavior modification, right? Let us shame you into changing your behavior. So, and this is standard practice, right? Now, I personally, I don't believe anyone should do things that they're, if the only reason you're doing it is because you're ashamed.
Right.
You should be focused on, what is it that you want to do, because this is who you are and this is what you love, and not, not in a negative way, but I'm saying with everything in life, right?
Sure.
You want someone to stay with you, not because they feel guilty if they're not, right? So, anyways, after he went through and told me all their initial ideas about trafficking, and then somehow that turned into a sports energy drink, with like Ray Lewis and Sting, from the WWE, right? And I was like, the whole conversation ended up being how they can make money, and how they were one of the selected groups to go to the White House that are fighting trafficking. And I was like, okay. So I very calmly told him that I said, well, we're involved in different parts of this. I'm like, you're talking about something totally different, and I'm talking about taking out Child Protective Services. And apparently at the White House, that's not discussed. Right?
Well,
It hasn't been.
let me ask you well, that's an important point. Sorry, but I was just thinking, well, how much of the money they're collecting from this energy drink goes into their program, right? For helping, right? Or is it just for their salaries? Is it does it go into doing rescue missions? Where does the money go?
Well, yeah, I mean, I asked that question too. I'm like, so what is the plan? And so basically, they're part of the perpetual awareness movement to make people aware and change behavior, right? So then there was another company that developed a super secret app, right, where you basically have a database of every child that had been abducted, and they would have a code word, right? And it would be very unique. So if someone walked up to you, like a young girl walks up to you and goes, banana paperweight tango, like, oh, because those are random words. You're like, what does that mean? And then you look it up and be like, oh my gosh, I just identified someone from the database of missing children, which in itself is not a bad idea. So it's not a bad idea, right? But how often would that happen? Right? People that are regularly engaged with their kids enough to give them that kind of a thing, that's going to eliminate, let's say, if I'm looking at kids that were abducted. Now, first of all, if a parent is actually involved in a child's life and a kid gets abducted, you'd think there's going to be some noise about it, right? They're going to make a big deal about it. It's going to hit the news. That's why it's so hard for people to believe that there's, nearly 1 million kids that are abducted every year in the United States. No. How do they keep it out of the news? Well, they use Child Protective Services. So, according to the report in 2016, 88% of the kids that are taken by Child Protective Services are taken based on false accusations against parents. 89% of the kids that are held in custody by Child Protective Services, 89% of the kids that are trafficked in this country are in the custody of Child Protective Services. So how many kids are they actually protecting? Not many, right? Really not many. I mean, that's a model for failure.
Well, it seems like at that point was 88%, are being trafficked, at that point. This means they just haven't gotten to the last, few. Right. The whole system is set up as a conveyor belt to deliver to deliver kids into the system, and they have a way of making them disappear, right? As runaways, right? But they didn't run away; they were taken, right? So,
well, if you remember, we interviewed Ron Davis. Ron Davis said that if a child is left unmedicated, right, and they're separated from their parent, they'll oftentimes die from the separation. The anxiety, the depression will kill the child, right? That's how devastating that is, right, for a child when they're very young. That's number one. So what do? They get them and they sedate them. So they put them in this kind of a trance coma dream state, right? The child doesn't know what's happening. Now we've been reporting on that now for a year, where they would just throw them in these cargo shipping containers, basically like dead fish, right? Because they'd be drugged, they'd be sedated. And we also know, I mean, Michelle Walker has actual documentation to show how they're experimenting with these different sedatives, right? And then when the kids have chemical imbalances, they can justify, look, they're obviously abused. Well, no, you just load them up with a whole bunch of chemicals and you took them from their parents, you know, and oftentimes they do this right after a parent, you know, or after a mother, you know, loses a husband. Now she's by herself with kids and she's devastated already. Then they take her kids, right? So they take advantage of the natural human condition of just caring, right? So they sweep in, they destroy someone when they're down, completely annihilate. I mean, it's so sadistic when you think about it. They sedate the kids, they drug them up, they, you know, put them in these horrible, you know, just horrible state of affairs, right?
right.
These poor kids. And then, so now you've got these groups, right? Ben Graham told us that he had been in the White House 28 times. Right? He was saying how with the other large, you know, people working on the trafficking, right? And like, you're working on the trafficking, and it made me wonder the way he said it, right? And I know he meant anti-trafficking or to stop trafficking, but he just said working on trafficking. And I thought, I wonder if that's really what they're doing. They're there to make it look like they're doing something. And he said these are the large groups. And I'm thinking, these are the large groups. What the hell have you guys been doing? Because you sure as hell aren't stopping anything.
Right.
You have these large groups, big payrolls. You're meeting at the White House. You have all the support. What are you guys doing exactly? Here, I'll tell you what. I can stop a massive. I can stop more trafficking, making one move. Dan, I should mention this first. In our dictator, I was a dictator for 7 days. Give me 1 week, absolute authority. First thing, defund, completely eradicate any grant funding for child protective services immediately. And furthermore, and prevent any funding taking place for any organization that is incentivized to take children from their families. Because right now, you have an incentive that this year, they have to take more kids than they did last year. Yeah. And if they don't take more kids this year, they will not be incentivized.
Which is completely what government does in every single department, every single agency, every single little cubbyhole of a government. You always have to increase your numbers.
Right. Because if the children, now, and Michelle Walker said this today on a call, and I'll tell you, Michelle Walker's always impressive, but it's when she was asked to be on this call to talk about, you know, the more in-depth things. So this guy from SWAT, we had this one meeting, you know, I gave him the pieces that I knew. I mean, like, just very, very briefly, just not to hurt his feelings, and basically told him, you know, there's nothing we can really do for each other right now because you're trying to guilt, you know, guys who are at the Super Bowl from not getting a prostitute. We're trying to prevent, you know, 2-year-olds from getting, you know, raped to death. It's a different world, right? It's a different category of malice in the crime. So he wanted a follow-up meeting, and because he was interested in me, wanted more information, and I'm not really sure what he wanted, but he didn't show. Right? He didn't show to me. He said, "Oh, I'll have to reschedule because I'm so busy and so important." Right? So now you don't stand immediately, like you stand us up for a meeting about this that you requested about kids, right? You'd be hard pressed to get another meeting with us. Because first of all, And that's how I feel. So the very first thing I said is, I said, you tell him to go do some research. Tell him to go do his own research first. Go do some work until you have enough knowledge to actually have a conversation with us. Until then, you can't help us. Because basically you're a show pony that goes to the White House and gets to talk about what you're doing. How Ray Lewis is going to come in and, there's going to be, pyrotechnics, right? And it's going to be, wow, right, yeah, let's stop trafficking. And what are you guys going to do? Nothing. You're going to do nothing. You're going to have, random people walking around with code words and kids. That's great. But the real problem is right there in Washington, D.C. And if you want to shut it down, stop funding them. It's pretty simple, right?
Right.
It doesn't really take a whole lot of brains to figure that out. Matter of fact, as soon as that report came out from the FBI, the next step should have been to go straight over to whoever is in charge of grant funding. I believe it's Title IV funding. And it should have been defund this right now.
Right.
This is a trafficking Gestapo. This is a crime against humanity. This is a crime against every parent, every child, every single American, and every person worldwide. It's the reason why Nancy Schultz had a murder, death, suicide with her husband, right? Like, she was killed. She was eliminated.
Yeah.
Right? And she had a whole plan to counteract this. Yeah. Michelle Walker talked today about calling a hotline. Right? And she actually took the time, because there's kids who she spoke to who had called a hotline, said that they were being trafficked, they needed help, they needed nowhere to go. They had escaped. And they said, we don't have anybody in your area at this time. Michelle Walker called back as a victim to go through the process and see what would happen. And they told her, just to validate the kid's story. And they gave her some location that was like 3,000 miles away. So now you're a kid, you need help. You call the people that are supposed to freaking help you.
Right.
And this useless, untrained group of, sorry, we don't have time for that. You're too busy being so important, doing government stuff. Big game of let's pretend. Let's pretend to be for the people. Let's throw out words like, because it's going to be a constitutional crisis. It's about the people. Man, you don't know what the hell the people are about.
Right.
Every single, so furious about all this. I'll tell you what. So while this was happening, I was writing a message to Kim, and I just told Kim that Bill Gates is basically going over the education here in New York. So let me read this for you. So these are kind of my thoughts as I'm going through this call. So our government takes our money and gives it to organizations that are incentivized to take the kids from our homes and our families. We pay them to poison us because we think they're the experts acting in the best interest of the people, but instead they make decisions to kill off the elderly, traffic our kids, euthanize the livestock, claim there's a famine, lie to us about it in the controlled media, and then militarize our policy enforcement officers to force us to comply. And while political games are being played, telling us to trust the plan, to wait, to prepare the fragile public consciousness to get comfortable enough to hear the truth. Because we need to ease people into it. At that same time, I was listening in that moment to a group discussing 3-year-olds being raped by grown men. After ordering these kids from Child Protective Services like Chinese food, as the parents and advocates are trying to understand how our military, police, sheriffs, and agencies are not only complicit, but they're active participants. Michelle Walker said on this call, she said, I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable, but could you imagine how uncomfortable it would be for a 3-year-old to have a grown man's penis forced into her vagina? And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but could you please for a moment imagine how uncomfortable that little girl is? Or at what age is the appropriate age that it's acceptable for a 2-year-old to have a grown man's member thrust into his anus? And again, I'm sorry that that's uncomfortable. I'm sorry it affects our fragile world where we don't like to discuss such dirty things. But you think it's more comfortable for that child? How long are we going to ignore it and pretend like it's not a real issue? How long are we going to sit back and allow our government agencies to legally traffic children, to steal them from homes, and to have the employees of those organizations be incentivized to do so? And how long before you think that will come to your door? And then I said, I'm grateful that I was able to spend the day today with my daughter, my 7-year-old, delivering food to people imprisoned by fear and false death claims made by the CDC that recently, miraculously, resurrected 30,000 people from the dead. An organization whose sole job is to prevent such outbreaks and keep track of the damages. And a death certificate is not a whimsical or a frivolous document. It's a document that says this is what happened. This person is dead, their life is gone, and this was the cause. So how do you miscalculate by 30,000 people and the total of 67,000 go down to 37? How's that possible? And there's people in their homes right now imprisoned by this, and this is being championed by a tyrannical governor who even today in New York City, he stated that death tolls will be even greater than reported. And as soon as I heard that, I knew he was letting us know that he was not done. He's not done killing people off. He's not done pushing and trying to find new ways to do it. And it was validated immediately when I found out later that Bill Gates and Schwartz will now be reimagining the educational system for New York State. Cuomo mocked the idea of children gathering together in a building to have school as if it was outdated. How we should all be locked in our homes all the time.
Yeah.
Now, this, after saying this was going to be even greater tolls, he then showed statistics on the death tolls and how it had leveled off. And he said, but what we found is that 66% of the deaths came from people who were obedient and stayed home, trying to avoid this horrible virus.
66%, right? So 6.6?
6.6.
It sure it's not 66.6%?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
But then now you take all those things, and then now let's take the collection of all this information and go back to the FBI reported in 2016 that 89% of the children taken by Child Protective Services are based on false claims. 88% of the kids that are trafficked are in the custody of Child Protective Services. So they have legalized the act of harvesting our children from our families. The virus plague in this country is apathy, indifference, greed, and ignorance. How do you fight a hierarchy that's willing to abuse, trade, and rape their own kids with a population that doesn't know, believe, or care enough to take a stand? A media propaganda machine that's on their payroll, and a government with so many secrets that they're more afraid of being exposed than they are concerned with protecting the people. And this is where I struggle. I don't know how to tap into that part of a man's soul and reminds him of his duty to protect those weaker than themselves. I realize my prayer.
Well, I think part of the problem is that they believe that they're weak, right? That they're bad. They're guilty, and it just so they avoid the thinking at all that this is something that they need to act on. Right? It's the poison in the food and the fluoride in the water and the toothpaste. All makes everyone into this lackadaisical malaise, right? And can't think, right? They have no ability to think. It's a long-term process to basically dull everybody down. Hey, let Microsoft educate you, dull you down further, right? Oh, you want to be able to leave the house? Well, put your tracking device on, right? And make sure you've been vaccinated, right? So
put your leash on. Put your leash on because you don't want to go too far.
Yeah. And if you're getting too close to someone, a buzzer is going to go off. Oh, you get too close, your phone will explode.
Oh yeah, because they're going to control how we reproduce one way or another, right?
Yeah. So
they'll decide who we can. We'll decide who we can mate with.
Yeah.
If you can mate at all.
Yeah. The new place you have to carry your phone is not just in your pocket, but in a pouch in your underwear.
Right. Yeah.
It's complete radiation to stop reproduction.
Oh yeah, I mean it's right there. They the woman here who was just talking about Fauci. She talked about how they're putting enough. Now she didn't say formaldehyde, but I know formaldehyde is put in the vaccines often, and that this is one of the side effects. But she mentioned how they know it causes spontaneous abortions, right? So someone's vaccinated, they think they're doing the right thing, and then they're actually pushing to get people vaccinated while they're pregnant, right? Yep. Now, in abortion, to be honest, right? I mean, we know they have things like the morning after pill and things like that, right? That'll cause an automatic spontaneous abortion. So it's not a stretch to think that exists in the form of a vaccine, right? That they could do that to someone unwittingly. And then it could have long-term effects. Not just one time, but over and over and over again. Reoccurring in your body because your body just is no longer suited to, to be the arc of life, right?
Right.
That's part of the way that they're trying to destroy women. Part of the greatest gift a woman has, right? They're the source of creation, right? They're the gestation place of all that we are.
Yeah, my daughter was revealing that like she got pregnant based upon some. It was kind of like an accidental side effect of a particular drug that came out, right? That people were getting pregnant, right? And so that's how she was trying for her second child, and even the first child was also hard to conceive. She was at the time a smoker, right? And I told her, if you want a child, stop smoking, right? And she did. Within like just a few months later, she got pregnant and we're stopping smoking. But now this next time it took she used this particular drug that had this side effect, and now she said everybody's doing that. She was making comments because she's in the baby business, right? She's in she does ultrasound, right? We all see a 3D representation, right? And she said everyone is having problems conceiving. Everyone has to use some sort of drug to conceive. I mean, this seems very controlled, isn't it? Right? If you can control how people get pregnant, right, and not allow them to have the ability to get pregnant, you can control it. Is it through the vaccines? They have you can get pregnant now only if you have this particular vaccine, right? You take this pill, you take this particular medicine. Oh, now you can conceive. This is population control. Seems pretty obvious at this point, but they're using this sorcery through the pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
Very true. You know, we had two miscarriages before my sons were born, and we didn't take any fertilization drugs or anything like that, like Landon. I mean, and but I think back, I told every girl I was gonna have twin boys one day. All right, every girl I ever dated, and lo and behold, 2 miscarriages and then twin boys, right? And Leia had been on this drug for acne, right? That in hindsight we realized probably contributed to her. I mean, this was like years before. Probably contributed to her having miscarriages, right?
Yeah.
It was actually. And we were so healthy about. So, like everything organic, everything was based around us, and we stopped trying when when we just stopped. You just started living. We just kind of accepted we weren't going to have kids, and then we had the boys, and then after that, Leia was dealing with postpartum. So finally, I got to connect with a chiropractor that changed her life. Right, 5 years in line, 5 years able to heal herself. Our whole family, our kids, all went to the chiropractor regularly. Right now they would still. And I look at the difference in the next pregnancy. She got pregnant, and my daughter was so healthy. My daughter by herself weighed as much as my 2 sons weighed together. And she's just been so well developed, and she's just been so clearly, so sharp, so so healthy. So it's amazing. It really makes me, really question, what is, like I have access to a lot of things that, not many people have access to. In addition to, I'm neurotic about research, and I do myself really as many advantages as I can, right, health-wise.
Tank, I just want to say you're kind of wobbly on your audio.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, change that. Yeah. So, but I just look at that and I just think, most people don't have that time. Most people don't have that, even the forethought. They just think, the way my parents did it's fine, And it's I just think like you don't know, we don't know what we're missing out on, right? Because the new normal has become this mandatory vaccinated world. So you don't know what the potential is because it's already being suppressed. So even kids that are not, technically autistic or, have some other neurological disorder from the vaccines, they are definitely affected. And the question is how much? How much are they affected? Because what we'll do is we'll just ignore it and say, it's just kids being kids. This is normal. So what's really normal has changed. And in all probability been greatly diminished in the process to dumb down, deafen, fatten, and stupefy all of us, right?
Yeah. There's so much, right? That we've been in this false reality, and that we're trying to create a positive world, but they've just been from the shadows conspiring all this time, and now it's the final closure of the lid on the boiling pot, right? And as the lid is coming down, we're saying no, get out of it. Let's get out of this pot, right? And so we're fighting, every which way, and people are waking up. I wish we could wake them up, and I agree with you. Defund that. That's like an obvious a way to go. And so you see, how does Trump come out? So we're defunding child protection services. The media would have a eat them for lunch, right, nonstop, right?
First of all, that's why you have to start with the media.
Right.
The first thing is the fact that you are perpetuating lies that have damaged humanity on such a massive scale, if you report another damn thing that is as erroneous and filled with lies as what you're reporting, you will be arrested.
Right.
You should be arrested.
Yeah.
If you knowingly report things that are false, which they do all the time,
yeah.
they follow an agenda, they follow work, unless you list yourself as strictly entertainment.
And this has happened in the past, right? Before war, right? And the press is basically for the other side. They get arrested, right? And it's going to happen again. You know, this is why, you know, Trump is preparing everyone, and he challenges every question that they ask and throws it back in their face. Pompeo did the same thing today. You know, I said, oh yeah, Pompeo, go for it. So now it's like the press gave him one of those questions, right? And he basically threw it right back at him and said, hey, listen, I know you're looking at trying to every question you give me is about saying how there's diverging opinions in the administration and how there's infighting in the administration. All your questions are about that. And I've told you repeatedly that this is not the case. We're not disorganized. We're not, you know, we have different opinions, and we accept all of them, and we come out with one direction. And why are you? So he can, and so throw it back at them, right? And so,
you know, Pompeo does a good job of that. He's one of the few guys. Like, I like the way he deals with things.
Yeah.
He just calls everybody's bluff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he calls, it's okay. It's like, okay, look, I know what you're trying to do. They're slick. You know, nice try.
Yeah.
Like, you're bullshit. I see right through you. Stop it.
Right.
Like, because you got to think, Pompeo's, you know, CIA trained, right? So he knows exactly how the cultural guidance works, right? He knows who queues up, you know, the CIA. I mean, sorry, the press, or the CIA controlled press.
So I've heard this a couple of times, right? But it wasn't my impression. But I know Pompeo was put into the CIA by Trump in the very beginning, right? Like on day one, right? He moved him right in, right? And then made him Secretary of State afterwards. So was he in the CIA prior to that?
You know, I don't know, actually. I like Pompeo.
Yeah.
What I've seen, at least. I mean, he seems to be calling out. I really think he's a patriot. I mean,
yeah, I think so.
I don't know enough about him, but what I've seen is great. You know, I mean, he called out the governors, right, for meeting and basically, getting endorsed by, communist China.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to think, this is talking about the Chinese elders, the same Chinese elders who are trying to take over the country, the same ones who are trying to, basically, implement this horrible program, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Cuomo was part of that, right? He's bringing in Gates, and I mean, New York is the cornerstone of the country, right? And you're bringing in these, like, what you see happening here is what is planned.
Well, you're going to see that. I'm sure that Cuomo is going to basically say that, hey, we're going to do vaccinations here. It's being provided by the Gates Foundation through the World Health Organization. We're bringing these vaccinations.
Right.
At that time, everyone better basically realize that they're now targeted for immediate elimination.
Yep.
Yeah. It's at that point, that just look at what Gates has told you: population control through vaccinations. So,
well, today, I mean, like I was talking to some members of the assembly. They were saying people put their houses up for sale immediately. They're like, "What do we do? Well, where else do you run?" I mean, this guy is showing no signs of letting down, and I really think the last line of defense is the assembly. I think the most important thing to happen right now is for that assembly to come together. I mean, the assembly officers around the road today, they were going around collecting the actual documentation so the next steps can be taken. And actually, I'll tell you, Lawful America actually has a better chance independently of the assembly than the assembly, because it's been such a challenge to bring the assemblies together. Because the National Assembly, who we were trying to partner with, they actually came in on our calls, and they actually tried to slow things down. And I'm like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? Right? They clearly are not operating in the best interest of the people. They're coming in trying to make it about them or about lawful America, which it's not about either. Right?
Well,
it's about the people.
Yeah. So
And
isn't every state, kind of a separate country, and every state has the ability to form an assembly? They're not really meant to be under one assembly, right?
Well, that's the point. There's different. So that's why with lawful America, what we've always said, like we're a bridge maker, right?
Yeah.
We're here to try to get everybody on the same page because most of your patriots, your people that are, knowledgeable on the Constitution, people who understand, hey, it's okay for us to take a stand and assemble, and actually come together and call a grand jury and actually have our grievances redressed, right? The ones who understand that are usually involved in one of these groups, right? So like National Liberty Alliance, the Republic, Rus, the National Assembly. These are all groups that have, taken shots at this, right? So they look at us as like, oh, we're the upstarts causing problems. Well, we're causing problems because you're doing nothing.
Right.
So you want us to all sit back and wait while you do nothing, so that we're just long enough so that they can boil us alive. And and I don't know what the intent of the National Assembly is. I've had great interactions with some of their members, but we have been nonstop having meetings because we are setting up assemblies all over the country, and we've got meetings. I mean, nonstop. At night before I have your call, the reason why we've been getting on this late, we had three meetings for different assemblies tonight alone, right? And that's been like that every single day of the week. And not because we're trying to control it, but because we're trying to give people the support they need to take action.
Yeah.
Now, there's other people out there that are well qualified to do so, right? But you need to have your state assembly set up. Everybody needs to have their state assembly set up. They need to be thinking about that seriously. They need to pull together, 27 people, 30 people, whatever it is, right? And we are what we're doing because we were using this handbook from the National Assembly, but they keep changing it. And then they changed their website so people couldn't get access to certain things. So why did they do that? Why did they do that now? Well, because they made it about them and about us. And we called them out on the documentation that was wrong. And essentially they admitted, yeah, that's wrong. Right? They tried to come on the New York Assembly call and blow us up and look all superior. And they got, dirt kicked in their face. They look stupid. So that kind of behavior is what always causes the problem. So we really had thought we merged with them in a way that was productive and healthy. And then now they turn around and sabotage it. And it's really unfortunate, right? Because if we were really about the people, if we were really about being free, if we were really about doing the right thing according to what this country set out to do, we wouldn't waste time doing that. We wouldn't be trying to sneak things into documents. That's what cabal does.
Right. So what was any progress on what about that language about the indigenous powers?
Oh yeah, we're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, one of the national assemblies is one of the states is actually they're changing their language.
That Florida?
It's been operating for 2 years. They're changing it.
Florida?
Because yeah. Well, last I knew, because at the end of the day, they couldn't even justify it. Their claim is that they go back to the founding fathers. So we went through all the documents to see where is this that you're talking about. It's not there. It's not there.
Right.
So what they were referring to is an Amish document, right? Which clearly that's not what we're doing, right? Like whatever, however that got implanted in there, they think that's justifiable, but it's not.
Yeah.
And this is where things just get. It's just a waste of time. It's just another way to get us to waste our time.
Right.
So Michelle Walker and I talked about it, and what we're doing is we're completely revamping the handbook exactly according to the Constitution, going separate from anything that they set up. We're going to set up these state assemblies because this is a state of emergency. The state of emergency right now is that you have these, communist forces that are invading the country, and everybody is, too afraid and ignorant to know what to do. So somebody's got to put it together. We thought we could use some of the work they've done, but even when given a chance, they turn around and
Well, this is
muck it up.
QAnon right now, one of the focuses that's come out over the last week has been about infiltration. And they're pointing at China, right, as their infiltration into the Democratic Party, right? Their infiltration into the companies, right, by buying up 30% of companies that are not, the critical ones are not allowed to buy up, right? But they're doing this. They're infiltrating, and they're using then that power to get people to give up their freedoms, right? So that's infiltration. Well, there's also the infiltration, of the cabal throughout the world, right? And that's been their main tactic, right? Which goes back to the Khazarian, region, right? They used to infiltrate the surrounding areas, take over or clone the individual passing through on the roads.
The Jesuit oath. The Jesuit oath. You will marry your women and kill your babies. I mean, this is what they say in the oath.
Yeah. So I don't think that they're of like mind. The Khazarians and the Jesuits, yeah.
No, it's all the same group. They're different. Different. All different groups.
Sure.
Same tactics.
Same tactics. That's what I mean. Yeah, they're of the same mind, and so this is what we're dealing with worldwide: infiltration by this evil, right? You can say it's we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party. You can say it's about communism. You can say it's about Satanism. You can say it's about Luciferianism. You can say it's about the left versus right, conservative versus liberal. All of it is talking about that there is this conflict in these different areas, but it's still all just one thing. If you're supporting death and you're supporting the treating people as a possession that you get to do with, and the more of these people you have under your control, the more power you have, right? It's all the same thing. It's not recognition of the individual freedoms, the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Because that interferes with their, ideals, right? I actually was having a conversation with one of my leaders on gold grain coin, right, and talking more about this stuff, about things, and really went through this and said, this is a worldwide battle, right, and we're winning, right, but it's still a battle, and they're going to be fighting. So we're going to. I'm not surprised that we see, the what's that wasp that invaded? I forget what they call it. That was the scorpion wasp. Was it that's invading or coming there, or the tainted meat coming over from Mexico? It's an attack, right? These things are happening because they're trying to cause catastrophe. It's a warfare of plagues, right? They want to bring the plagues from the Bible. They want to reproduce those, right? This is their goal, right?
Right.
So this is the battle, right? And I feel good at the position that we're at, but we can't let up. And in fact, we have to accelerate. They're going to accelerate.
That's right.
They're going to accelerate. They're going to throw everything out right now. That's why this channel I can imagine will be just taken off, right? That's why. Just a note on BitChute. I've been processing a video, the interview I did. It kind of aired out the first time, sometime in the night, and I had started again this morning, and now it says processing. It's been processing for a couple hours. So anyway, I'll figure out how to how to operate that, and hopefully that works out. So, but we need to really step it up. We need to take action. You got to set up some time from doing other things that you may be saying, I don't have time, I'm doing this. Well, cut out some of those things, right? Focus on doing something in liberating the planet at this point. You know, everywhere in the world, someone can do something, can participate. You know, listening to these programs, you know, is great. Creating a program is better. Right? And you can talk about, have your friends come on and just talk. That's all you got to do. You focus on one news item, right? Just talk about it. That's all. Right? Because then that brings us together. Everyone starts listening. We're all in agreement, right? Yeah, we got to stop CPC. You know, Child Protection Services.
So, you know, Child Protection Services got to go. I mean, all these
CPS.
things.
And then
You
they
know,
got
it's.
Chinese Communist
I
Party.
think New York is what is it? Chinese what?
Chinese Communist Party is. So I got them mixed up in my head that they made them
Oh,
one thing, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So I gave I gave initials that were not connected. So I said, oh, that didn't work. So
CPC, right?
yeah, Chinese Communist Party, right, and then Child Protection Services. So, but either of them, right? We need to. There's a connection there, I'm sure.
Yeah, without question. So, anyways, man, that's basically what I got for today.
Yeah.
Sum it up.
I would just say that there was a. Let me just bring up something. Let me share that. No, it's not showing. Why is it not showing? There we go. Let me share it with you. I just thought it's something, you know, worth sharing. It's on Gateway Pundit. Huge update. Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx use Imperial College model, now confirmed as a complete fraud, to persuade Trump to lock down the entire U.S. economy. So this is an article that barely goes through and analyzes this point by point. I don't think we need to really go through it point to point because we already know, right, everything that we've been discussing here, right, on how we were led down the way by science, right, following these two as the ones that basically said we're going to, you know, be the ones losing 2.2 million people. Yes, take action, right, but now we know it's a fraud, right. And that's what's coming out across the world is that this is a fraud. And I also want to point out that Fauci has been out of the limelight. He's been taken out. When did that start happening? Just a few days after Trump said fire Fauci, or he retweeted someone that said fire Fauci. Right? A few days after that, he was moved out of the limelight. He's still going to do a Senate, you know, presentation, but I think he was read the riot act and say, look, this looks pretty bad for you, right? Looks pretty bad, and also for Birx. And so today, Trump had another, you know, discussion with, I think, from Illinois, the governor. I think it was the governor of Illinois, but her task force, who was very good with numbers, was giving numbers to Trump, and Trump invited her to be on his task force. Not like not being on the Illinois one also, but in addition, right? And I see that she could easily replace Birx, right? Because she's the numbers girl, the data-driven girl, right? Now Trump's got another data-driven girl that's showing what the actual data is saying, which was more about really what's happening with the death rate, really what's going on. So I think, you know, that Birx is on her way out. She's going to now disappear, and there will be someone new talking about what the real numbers are. So this dynamic duo of Birx and Fauci are going to be made. People are going to be made aware that they had a fake, false model, proven false from a long time ago. They have conflicting reasons as to why they would want to, you know, push one other drug or get everyone to stay at home, you know. So they have all this conflicts of interest, and they harmed millions of people, millions of businesses, not helped. and that's and so they will. I think they're going to end up being also, in this group that's arrested as people wake up to what's been going on. So, anyway, I wanted to just cover that just before. I didn't want to let this one slide. That was a good point.
Yeah, man, that's just amazing. Well, I'll tell you, there are some days I just feel like I can't do enough. And today's one of them, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. To get some rest. We'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully that video will be up on BitChute, and I'll add it to the bottom of this video as soon as I have a confirmed link that's working.
Cool, gang. All right, appreciate it, Dan. Have a great night, everybody.
All right.